I'm getting ready to add 9 more 3D printers to this print farm. So over the last 2 months, I put these 3D printers to the test, printing hundreds of parts and running almost 1,000 hours each. I ran into some strange issues, had plenty of failures, but there was one machine that stood out. So am I selling all of my Prusas or tossing these new Bambulab machines in the trash? Let's find out. This video is sponsored by Shopify. My print farm is made up entirely of Prusa i3 Mark III S Plus 3D printers, considered by many to be the gold standard for additive manufacturing production machines. They're simple, robust, and easily maintained and repaired. So it's no surprise that most of the large 3D print farms around the world use Prusa machines. But times, they are a-changin'. As competitors enter the market, there are now other decent options with compelling value propositions, including new offerings from Prusa themselves. As a business owner looking to expand my print farm, I'm obligated to make a decision based on data and not hype. Now, I've talked about the lineup of Bambulab printers before. I think they're awesome. I use the two behind me quite a bit for prototyping work. They're crazy fast and have proven to be a super reliable machine. But what about using them in a print farm? They seem like a logical choice, right? Well, not so fast. There is a big difference between a printer that can print individual parts reliably and one that can print hundreds or even thousands of parts reliably. Are the motion systems and wear items designed for that kind of abuse? Throughout my additive manufacturing journey, I found that the single most important aspects of a print farm machine is uptime and output. What percentage of time does the printer stay running over an extended period? And what is the total production output during that time? Would running Prusa versus Bambulab printers be like the tortoise and the hare? Does the slow and steady approach of the Prusa win in the long run? Or can the Bambulab printer hold up long enough to win the race? This is really the question I am hoping to answer with this video. Knowing that I'm going to invest a bunch of money in more 3D printers, which one do I buy? For this test, I'm going to be comparing the tried and true Mark III S Plus printers, which will be the baseline, to 2 different alternatives. And number 1 is the brand new Prusa Mark IV. This is the updated version of the Mark III S Plus and boasts some seriously nice features, especially for a print farm environment. We've got a large color screen, wireless capability, a beefed up frame and motion system, but the improvements I'm actually excited about the most are all in the print head. There's now a full nozzle assembly that can be easily swapped out rather than replacing just the nozzle tip itself. This eliminates the oozing from a gap in the heat break and also eliminates the possibility of damaging the heater or thermistor components during changes, which is a constant battle on the older Mark III S machines. They also added a little breakout board on the head, so changing these components is much easier and quicker compared to the Mark III, where you had to replace the connection all the way back to the board. And finally, the addition of a load cell in the head to automatically calibrate your Z offset and level the bed is very convenient. There are many more improvements than that, like the planetary gearbox, actual functioning filament sensor, and of course, input shaping for faster prints. The other option is the Bambulab P1P. This is the most stripped down version of the P-series machines in their lineup. And don't let its lack of side panels or color screen fool you. This thing is an absolute speed demon when it comes to printing. The biggest difference between this and the Prusa is the layout of the machine. This is what's called a Core XY machine, where the X and Y axis move in the top gantry of the printer, while the print bed itself only moves up and down in the Z direction. The Prusa is what's commonly referred to as a bed slinger. The bed actually moves in the Y direction while the print head moves in the X and Z. And this is important when it comes to speed because moving and accelerating the relatively heavy mass of the print bed and the part sitting on it in the Y direction during printing really limits the print speed and acceleration capabilities. The P1P, on the other hand, just has to move around the much lighter print head, which it can accelerate much faster. The Bambulab printers leverage traditional linear bearings in the Y direction, but have a unique dry graphite bearing in the X-axis. It's a novel concept, but a huge question mark when it comes to long-term reliability in a print farm environment. Also, add on to the fact that Bambulab is a relatively new company, and customer support has been found to be, how would I say, spotty at times. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got a test cell made up of 3 of each printer in question. On the top row, I've got 3 of the Prusa Mark IVs, and the bottom row, I've got 3 of the Bambulab P1Ps. I'm going to run the same parts using the same filament in a production setting. And I want to do this over an extended period of time so I can get as much data as possible. During this test, I'm going to measure the total filament consumed by each printer, the total part output from each, and record any failures or maintenance items that occur during this time. I'm then going to calculate the total uptime and output for each machine. This information will hopefully help me make the right decision on where to spend my money to expand my print farm. So over the course of this test, there was a lot of repetition. Every day I would start prints, unload parts, and reload material as needed, and then just rinse and repeat over and over and over. You know, the whole reason I'm even doing this test is because my print farm represents a business, an online business to be specific. Whenever someone asks me, hey, I sell products locally now, how do I take it to the next level? My answer is always the same, and that is Shopify. There really is no better platform to do this on, which is why it's used and trusted by millions of brands all around the world. It's an extremely powerful tool supporting everyone from little one-man shops to multi-million-dollar international businesses. I'll tell you two things that I really like about Shopify. Number one is it can grow with you. Start simple and build an online shop using one of their templates. It'll look great, function flawlessly, and give your customers peace of mind that they're buying from a real company. And number two, when you do grow, they make selling internationally extremely easy using their new Markets Pro feature. Look, selling products here in the US and figuring out where and when to collect tax is challenging enough. But when you go international, it's an absolute nightmare trying to figure out each country's individual requirements. Markets Pro by Shopify handles all of that for you, which is amazing. You can even run your entire business from their app, which makes staying on top of things like orders and customer insights quick and easy. And of course, you can always manage through a web browser and really dig down to just about any level of detail you can possibly want. If you want to finally get that online business started that you've always thought about doing, do it today. Start with a free trial by going to shopify.com/shopnation or use the link down in the video description. You can have an online business up and running in a matter of hours. So what are you waiting for? Okay, so now I've been running these printers for about 2 months, which is about 40 days of solid printing. That equates to each printer running approximately 950 hours during this time. Let's take a look at the data. Okay, actually let's stop right there. Any test or experiment is gonna have certain factors that are probably worth discussing or disclosing, because I know that the YouTube comment section is gonna drag me through fire if I don't. Number one, the baseline Mark III's printers that we're comparing to are not brand new printers like the ones we're testing. Anyone who's ever owned a 3D printer knows that the first couple months of use are usually the most reliable. I did my best to use Mark III's Plus printers that either had a brand new hot end replaced or were just generally the newest in the fleet. Hopefully that helps correct for this discrepancy. And number two is that I did not use input shaping on the Mark IVs during this test. When I actually started, the alpha firmware that first launched the input shaping for these printers wasn't even out yet, so changing that mid-experiment just seemed kind of wrong. So in theory, the Mark IVs could have produced at a higher output rate had I been using the much faster input shaping feature. But one could also argue that maybe it would introduce more problems. We'll never know. And number three is that this was a very short test. 1,000 print hours per machine might sound like a lot, but I fully expect a printer in this farm to last upwards of 20,000 hours, with proper maintenance and general wear and tear replacement. A true test, in my opinion, should be more like a year, not 2 months. I do plan on continuing this test and doing an update at a later time. Just thought I'd mention that. Let's get back to the results. My baseline are the Mark III's Plus printers that are already in the farm. During that 2-month period, an average printer went through 4.4 3 kilogram spools of filament, or 13.2 kilograms total. From that, they were able to produce on average 136 standard parts. These printers had some periodic shifting and crash errors, causing the entire print to be scrapped in most cases. The total uptime for the average Mark III's Plus printer was 816 hours, which means the scrap rate was effectively 15%. Next up is the newer Prusa Mark IV. During that same 2-month period, the average printer went through 4.6 3 kilogram spools of filament, or 13.9 kilograms total. They produced an average of 144 standard parts during that time. The only real issues experienced with the Mark IV were some initial bed adhesion issues and several instances of high first layer Z offsets. This happened on numerous occasions before I could figure out what was going on. Turns out that the load cell that was used to calibrate the printer before each use was sensitive to any residual filament left on the nozzle and the force of the 3 kilogram spool pulling on the print head. I was able to completely eliminate this issue by manually cleaning the nozzle and unspooling some of the filament for the calibration step. I was honestly kind of disappointed by this. The load cell was supposed to reduce the manual input by me and ensure perfect first layers every time. I found it kind of annoying to have to do these steps just to make sure the prints turned out okay. The total uptime for the average Mark IV ended up being 864 hours, which resulted in a scrap rate of 10%. And finally, the Bambulab P1Ps. In the exact same 2-month time frame, each printer went through 6.2 3 kilogram spools of filament, or 18.6 kilograms total, a monstrous 4.7 kilograms more than the Mark IVs. Given higher material input, they were able to consistently produce 192 standard parts during this test. The only issues I experienced were some initial print sheet adhesion issues, specifically when trying to print parts with a small footprint. The bulk of the test parts were larger, so this issue was not very impactful to the total output. The total uptime for the average P1P printer was 922 hours, which resulted in a very efficient scrap rate of just 4%. Now, if we look at the results together, the difference is pretty clear. The Bambulab P1P is clearly the hare in this race, roasting the competition in uptime, output, and scrap rate. But as I mentioned, my concern is not about who wins in the short term. but which 3D printer provides the most value over the life of the machine? Unfortunately, to answer that, I need a lot more time. I'll be honest, I'm still not 100% sold on the longevity of the carbon rods, the closed nature of the hardware, and customer service reputation of Bambulab. Those are areas where Prusa, frankly, kicks their butt. In my opinion, they've got a lot to prove here. And notice I'm not even discussing printer price here. In my experience, by the time the printer cost is amortized across the life of the printer, typically 5 years, the purchase price difference is almost a trivial amount. Pinching pennies to buy production machines can be very short-sighted, which is why you don't see me even discussing the low-cost options like Ender, Elegoo, Anycubic, or stuff like that. You may have success with one or maybe a few of these printers, but they are not production machines, in my opinion. So my real issue is that I need to make a decision now. I'm running into a production bottleneck and I need some more capacity. I'd love to have a much longer test so that I can push things to see the limit and truly understand the long-term reliability. But when considering all of the factors, I decided to take a gamble on the Bambulab P1Ps. You can see I've actually just finished setting up a new rack of 9 P1P printers. It's just too hard to ignore the stark difference in output, even if it's just over a short 2-month period. These 9 printers you see behind me have the equivalent capacity of 15 Prusa Mark III S Plus machines. And to me, that's kind of a no-brainer considering I'm running out of space in this print farm room. Now, when it comes to getting them ready for print farm life, there's a couple things that I have to do. The first is to set them up on an isolated platform like I've done everywhere else in this farm. Rather than a continuous shelf, they all kind of sit on their own little platform, which is then sitting on strips of windowsill foam that helps keep the individual printer vibration to a minimum. And the next is to connect 3 of them to a UPS, or an uninterruptible power supply, to keep them printing should the power suddenly ever go out. Now, it's not going to keep them running for long if the power goes out, but it will certainly bridge the gap between a power blip or a short power outage. And finally, the printers themselves. I first replaced the standard hot end with a hardened steel 0.6mm nozzle. This is the same nozzle size I have on all of my other printers, and the hardened steel will make them last much longer between changes. Next, I reconfigure the filament Bowden tube mount with this handy little 3D printed bracket. This routes the Bowden tube towards the front of the machine so that it can be fed from a rack-mounted spool. Now, what I haven't done yet, but I will likely do in the future, is to upgrade the cable and tube management to a cable chain. This is actually a standard on the higher level printers like the X1C, but it can be retrofitted on the P1P as well. And finally, I bend up some filament hangers out of 5/16 steel bar to handle the larger 3kg spools that I use. This makes keeping an eye on filament level and changing material very easy. And that's pretty much it. Now I've got 9 more printers in the farm that should drastically increase my output, making it possible to support more products and cut down on lead times for new product launches. Did I make the right decision? Frankly, I don't know. We'll just have to find out. But I know there's a lot of people out there who are curious, myself included, as to how this Bambulab printer is going to perform in a print farm. And really my only hope with this video is to be transparent, share with you what I found, so that if you're in a similar boat and you're looking to expand a print farm or start a print farm, maybe you can use this. And for those of you shaking in your chairs with anger about how I could possibly disregard your bargain bin $150 printer you got on Amazon as a serious print farm contender because it prints your Marvel Universe character helmets like so good, just take a deep breath and know you're wrong.